for the next position, we're going to be on our back. Now, we're going to work on the rib cage itself first, then with the muscles of the obliques and intercostal muscles, and then we'll get to the abdominal muscles in the front, and then to the diaphragm. So we'll start off first with some altered compressions on the ribs, just moving side to side and up and down. Now there's going to be a little bit of rib mobility with this as well, but while doing this, the intercostal muscles especially will tend to start to relax. Then after you do alternate, you could do simultaneous. So you work with your breathing. You breathe in, and as you exhale, the ribs come down, and then you bring it further down with your palm. So you work with your breathing that way. So you do that simultaneously. Then you could use a TheraBall on the rib cage itself. You could also use a rolling pin, a broomstick handle, but a TheraBall will do just fine. And then you could get directly onto the abdominal muscles on the front. And remember what I mentioned in the other video, that you want to go clockwise and not too deep, just enough to address the muscles and not go deep enough into the intestines. I take away the therapy ball and then get back to the ribs. Now I want to work on the intercostal muscles. So in the seated position, we did rib breaking, and that's what we'll do here as well. I have my finger pads in between the ribs on the intercostal muscles, and use my other hand to apply the pressure and then stroke towards the front. You could do this several times and then reposition your hands. Now I'll move back to the front of the abdomen area, and then using my palm, I reinforce and moving in a clockwise fashion. And you can also do the alternate palmar stroking here, where I have my bottom hand continuously moving clockwise, and my top hand will slip over the bottom hand to make it continuous. So you can do this several times as well, just warming up the rectus abdominis, the obliques near the attachment of the aponeurosis as well. And then I place my palms and my finger pads on either side of rectus abdominis, and I can move it side to side, as well as I could overlap, more of a reinforcement, side to side, like so. And then I'm going to get to work on the lower attachment of the obliques as well as rectus abdominis. I'm going to bend my knee, place my hands close to the pubic bone, and as I pull up on the lower abdominals, I'm going to bring my leg off to the side in opposite direction. So it'll be like so. So it gives a nice little stretch in that area. So I'm pulling up and over with the lower abdominals, and I'm moving my lower legs in the opposite direction. Also, I can leave my hand in this position and then lower my leg. What that will do is it'll rotate the pubic bone downward, and that will help give a little bit of a stretch to the lower abdominals, especially rectus abdominis. So I could do that several times. Then I go back to rectus abdominis, do some palmar type of maneuver. And then on either side of rectus abdominis, I could do stroking techniques. And then come back up. And with my finger pads, I do circular motion along the costal cartilage, so the margin of the rib cage here, Now, you could do this one-sided to work on the diaphragm. You place your palm on the side of the ribs, and as you inhale, my ribs will rise, and as I exhale, I hold the rib upward, and that will create slack. So I could place my fingers, or especially my thumb, underneath the cartilage here onto the diaphragm. So I could go in this position. So I'm going to breathe in. And as I exhale, I hold, and then use my thumb to go underneath, like so. Now, if you find that awkward or very specific, what you could do is you could get a pillow, or in this case, I have my textbook, and I have it underneath one side, and that'll help bring my rib outward, and so I don't need my hand here. And then I can use this hand instead of my thumb to go underneath the rib cage. So I'm going to breathe in, and as I exhale, I curl my fingers underneath my rib cage. Again, I don't poke because this is where the stomach is. I curl on the back side of the ribs. I do that a couple of times, and then from here, I move a few centimeters above and below several times, and then reposition further down, and then do the same thing. Now you could do this simultaneously, and you work with the breathing. So I breathe in, the ribs come out, and as I exhale, with my palms on either side, I hold the ribs and use my finger pads to go, or fingertips to go underneath the cartilage here. And breathe in, and exhale, and go underneath. And then from here, I can move several centimeters simultaneously on either side. And then move further down and do the same type of maneuver. You don't have to go as fast as I'm doing. You could go nice and slow. Just be careful because, again, on the right is the liver, on the left is the stomach. Curl your fingers, and then you can go nice and slow. When you get close towards the midline, you have rectus abdominis right here. So it'll be a little bit tougher to get underneath, but you're getting right at the attachment of rectus abdominis, which will really be helpful, especially if there's any tightness in this area. And then what you could also do, have your fingers hooked here, and as you breathe in, you pull the rib cage out slightly, and as you exhale, you hold the rib cage outward. That'll give a nice stretch to the abdominal muscles, as well as it gives a stretch to the diaphragm. And then reposition your hand, breathe in, bring your fingers along, and as you exhale, you hold your fingers on the costal cartilage, and that'll help, again, stretch the diaphragm and the abdominal muscles. And then go back and do some palmar kneading, again, clockwise fashion. To end off the technique lying on your back. And now we'll move to our last massage position.